What's up, YouTube? It's time for a review of the new A Day to Remember record, Bad Vibrations, out this past Friday, September 2nd. One of the most polarizing bands of the last 10 years or so for pretty understandable reasons. Since their debut album in '05, A Day to Remember have kind of separated themselves from that Warped Tour pack by fusing two seemingly unrelated corners of it in pop punk and metalcore. In the process, they kind of created their own lane, which is a beautiful thing in the music industry, but juggling these two styles has proven to be quite the challenge, because you look back on the criticisms they've faced with every record. So there's the Breakout album, For Those Who Have Heart, their second record. They follow that up with Homesick. People accuse it of being too predictable, too formulaic, too almost robotically heavy melodic, heavy melodic, heavy melodic. Okay, they follow that up with What Separates Me From You. Now they're getting criticisms of leaning too far towards the pop punk side of things, though I personally love that record. I gotta imagine, forget everybody. When you're A Day to Remember, it must feel like you can't please anybody. Me personally, I've always really enjoyed this band's music, but it wasn't until their last album, Common Courtesy, where it all sort of came together for me. That album blew me away, and unexpectedly too. To my ears, it just sounded like they simultaneously gained mastery of the metalcore side and the pop punk side, and were wielding the two with ease. You have hookier tracks like Good Things and I'm Already Gone and Best of Me, and you had the crushingly heavy stuff like Violence and Life Lessons Learned the Hard Way, and you had songs that kind of used the two in tandem. On Common Courtesy, it finally sounded like they weren't watering down the two sides, but exploring them further. So with this new one, Bad Vibrations, which is the follow-up to that, I gotta say, I didn't really know what to expect. I'll tell you what I got, though. I got an album with a real muscular first half and a real spotty second half. To me, the first 5 tracks on here pick up right where Common Courtesy left off, but the last 6 tracks are a pretty big drop-off. So we'll start with the first half of the record, which I pretty much have all positive things to say about. The 4th track, Expose, was kind of a cool left turn for me. This track opens with this droning, down-tuned guitar riff that sounds straight out of the Alter Bridge AB3 playbook, and then it transitions into verses that honestly take more from a new wave of American heavy metal band like As I Lay Dying than anything else. The lead guitar riff in the chorus, too, has a Killswitch Engage Trivium kind of vibe, so it was cool to hear something a bit different from a band that has suffered from being predictable in the past. On the flip side, the title track and opener here is an instance where the band kind of execute their tried and true formula and present us with a quintessential A Day to Remember song. The track launches with a synchronized staccato groove, screaming verses, melodramatic melodic chorus, build into a dissonant breakdown. It's all there. Nothing wrong with a dose of familiarity as long as there's other stuff to kind of round the record out. I love the track Naivety. This one's got a humongous chorus that's kind of bolstered and filled out and fluffed up a bit by these prominent backing vocals. The lyrics here read to me like this tug of war between this melancholic nostalgia for that time in your life when you're younger, that naive optimism can kind of inform your decisions and inspire you, but also this sense of acceptance that he's not in that place anymore and trying to find the positive in that. It's definitely a coming-of-age type of song. It's also got a real catchy bridge section with these guitar octave melodies playing off one another. I don't even mind the simple 3-chord Green Day kind of verse sections because they quickly burst into big, memorable ideas. And the first half of the record closes out with hands down my favorite track, Bullfight. This song is one big hook in the best sense of the word. Every instrument, every melody, every part just leaps out at you. Whether it's Jeremy McKinnon's super tight vocal harmonies in that intro and first verse section, or it's the 2 guitar arrangement in the second verse, or it's Alex Shellnut's real crisp sounding snare drum in the chorus, it all works. It's a knockout song. I also appreciated how the chorus had a bit of a darker tone than that usual A Day to Remember brightness. But unfortunately, the second half of this LP just couldn't keep that momentum. Musically, the track We Got This just felt real predictable to me. Like you know that after that first soft chorus it's going to burst into bouncy octave guitar melodies like All Signs Point to Lauderdale or a bunch of other moments in their catalog. I literally saw that punch coming before it was thrown. And lyrically, the way the message of the song was delivered just felt painfully transparent and unimaginative. Like, you're just like me when I was your age. That's a little cheap. That's like what your dad tells you when you turn 13. And the whole sing it out of tune thing, like, hey, look at us, we welcome people of all musical abilities. It just didn't need that type of excessive pandering. And hey, I'm not going to knock this track if it's going to be one of those songs that helps people through hard times and gives them hope and inspires them. Believe me, I'm all for that. It just felt like well-worn territory to me, like a bit of a meat and potatoes inspirational anthem. Things get better. Never heard that one before. The worst song on the album, though, is definitely Turn Off the Radio. Jerry McKinnon does show some pretty impressive vocal range here, particularly in the verses, but the sentiment here, it's just so obvious, it kind of goes without saying. I can't imagine a lot of A Day to Remember fans are listening to Z100 and Power 105 and these cookie-cutter radio stations. And yeah, the song's not just about radio stations. I think the message behind the message here is best summed up when Jerry McKinnon says, we're the victims of our own indifference, which I couldn't agree more. But be specific. What are these answers that you're looking for? I'm curious. Maybe you can give fans a better idea of where to turn as opposed to just where not to turn, because I think we have that second one covered. And the hook bores the shit out of me, so there's that. Two songs towards the end of the track listing that kind of left me indifferent. Actually, the two songs that surround Turn Off the Radio in the track listing are Same About You and the closing ballad, Forgive and Forget. With Same About You, what turned me off is just that it feels like the entire song is built around a chorus with all these other parts just kind of filling in space in between and hurrying everything back to the main event, which it's a pretty good chorus, but it just doesn't feel like there's a particularly noteworthy song built around it. And Forgive and Forget just kind of ends the album by putting us to sleep. It's tender and it goes for the heartstrings, but it never quite gets there for me because of how monotonous it is sonically. But on this half of the album, I'll definitely give it up to the song Justified for being one of the hookier cuts on here, as well as Reassemble, which may have been a tad overly angsty, but I definitely enjoyed. Bad Vibrations is just a strange album to review, man, because I feel like I'm reviewing two albums. There's an album I love in here, and there's an album in here that I'm real lukewarm on. But there's nothing on the record that I would describe as terrible or unlistenable, and overall, despite its inconsistencies, I'd say I'm feeling generally positive here. There's a good amount to like, and I think longtime fans will feel the same way. Bad Vibrations gets a 6 out of 10 from me. As always, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, or shoot me a message so we can continue to talk music, and I'll see you guys soon.